Hey everyone, welcome to our release kickoff for 15.7. My name is David DeSanto and I lead the product team here at GitLab. I'll be your MC on today's live stream. I'm also joined today by some of the team members of our awesome product team. They are in order in which they'll be presenting. Hillary Benson, Director of Product, will be providing our updates for the SEC section. Taylor McCaslin, Group Product Manager, will provide our updates for the Data Science section. James Heimbach, Principal Product Manager on the Verify team, will be providing updates for our Ops section. Josh Lambert, Director of Product, will be giving us updates on enablement. And bringing us home will be Ulrike Lewinsky, Director of Product, will be covering our Dev section. At GitLab, we're focused on delivering value iteratively with a focus on our FY23 or calendar year 2022 product investment themes. They are GitLab hosted first. GitLab hosted first does not mean GitLab hosted only. GitLab.com is the largest self-hosted or self-managed deployment. And we know if we can meet the needs of GitLab.com, we can meet the needs of our users. Our second theme is improved key workflow usability. This theme is focused on improving the workflows most critical to our users. This theme is focused on improving things like our merge request experience, where we know if we can get this right, we can drive multi-stage adoption, and that makes GitLab more valuable to you. And our final theme is extend our lead in CI/CD. DevOps doesn't stop till applications are in production, and we want to make sure that's as seamless and frictionless as possible. Before I hand it over to Hillary to kick us off, we do have our typical short public service announcement. On this live stream, we'll be discussing our product roadmap, which includes upcoming features and functionality. It's important to note that the information presented on this live stream is for informational purposes only. Please do not rely on it for purchasing or planning purposes. We plan very ambitiously here at GitLab, and all details discussed on this live stream are subject to change. The timing of any products, features, and functionality remain at the sole discretion of GitLab. Okay, so with that out of the way, it's time for the fun stuff. So Hillary, please kick us off with the SEC section.
Yeah, thanks, David. Let me just share out my screen here. All right, so to kick us off here, the SEC section, again, this milestone is focused on our investment theme to improve key workflow usability. So the composition analysis team is focused on replacing the underlying technology behind our license compliance capabilities. We don't anticipate shipping this milestone, but we'll make substantial progress on this project. Once this work is done, the dependency scanning CI job will support both our dependency scanning and our license compliance capabilities. So that will save users on execution time and also CI minutes. And it will also give us the architectural foundation to allow us to move forward on bridging important product apps with best-in-class offerings out in the market. The static analysis team is working on an effort this milestone to make it easier for us to provide higher quality security findings. So for instance, among other things, this will make it easier for us to drop noisy rules from our analyzers without creating confusion for users when they go and look at the vulnerability report. So today, if we drop a noisy rule, previously reported findings from that rule will be tagged as no longer detected because the rule is now off. But right now, it's not clear to the user why those findings are no longer detected. So they don't have a way of easily tracking what happened. So we're working to improve that experience. The dynamic analysis team is working on 2 projects this milestone. The first is to add support for GraphQL in on-demand scanning. And the second is actually a really exciting milestone for us. So we're going to be moving our browser-based DAS capabilities to general availability this milestone. The first GA release of browser-based DAS is going to include our crawler, our auth service, and our passive vulnerability checks. So the main portion of browser-based DAS that will not move to GA this milestone are our active checks. We're still working on getting active checks ready. So those will come in a future release. But the dynamic analysis team has been working really hard to deliver this for some time now, and the core engine and passive checks are fully ready. This represents a really great set of improvements for our users that will provide a vastly improved experience over our old DAS scanning engine. Threat Insights team is hard at work with a refactor of the security MR widget. That'll improve experience for users. And then they also have a stretch goal to hopefully finish out a backend refactor that will, among other things, unblock 3 major user-facing feature projects. So we're pretty excited about the progress there. and some of the usability improvements that we'll be able to make when that work is complete. And the security policies team is planning to release a feature that allows users to customize which runner tags are used for their scan execution policies. So we're giving some users some additional flexibility there. And finally, the compliance team has a couple projects that they're looking to close out this milestone. The first is to extend support for the chain of custody report. So today, this report provides a list of all merge commits in a group. With this change, that list will include all commits, not just merge commits. And then they'll also be working on adding full support for the ability to block an MR from merging if that MR has failed status checks. So today, the ability to block merging is available only via the API, and users have to enable it with a feature flag. So the idea here is to add first-class support for blocking merges, including UI configuration. And that is it for the sec section. With that, I'll turn it over to Taylor to take us through upcoming work in data science.
Awesome, thanks, Hillary. So my name is Taylor McCaslin. I'm going to talk you through our data science section. This includes our anti-abuse group. So they're focused on protecting GitLab instances from user behavior that disrupts productivity and an organization's ability to build and deploy code. So in that mind, we're looking at improving the abuse mechanism, the abuse reporting mechanism within GitLab. Today, submitting an abusive report goes to an admin and kind of just disappears with little context about what's happening. In this new design, basically, when you choose to report report abuse to admins, you'll get a detailed form to explain why you're reporting that content. And we've improved the UX of that entire experience to help keep activity within GitLab appropriate and non-abusive. We're also in the process of rolling out to self-hosted users Git abuse rate limiting. So basically preventing insiders from downloading large numbers of repositories. This is a configurable setting, so you can control how many repositories you want to allow your users to download. This is a common insider threat risk where someone, gets released from the company, goes and downloads all your source code and dumps that on the internet. This can help protect against that. So those are a few of the highlights that we're looking for, particularly around our GitLab hosted first product theme to support anti-abuse use cases. Next, I want to talk about our model ops stage, which is focused on empowering and enabling data science workloads on GitLab. We're building our first version of the package registry as a model registry, so basically supporting ML models within our registry system. We'll be having our MVC for this released this next upcoming milestone. We're also adding support in partnership with the ops team to enable SaaS GPU runners. So we're looking at offering an N1 standard for NVIDIA Tesla T4 GPU with availability from GCP to our SaaS availability. You'll basically be able to tag a job as GPU and get this high power compute for your runners. Finally, we're also, as part of our AI, or as part of our incubation engineering, we're working on an MVC integration of MLflow. This will support ML experiment tracking and metadata tracking. This is an experimental feature, but we're hopeful and excited about what this offers to customers. And then finally, on our applied ML front, we're also exploring what we're calling code completion, basically the ability to generate code suggestions. We're releasing our first internal POC of this tool in the upcoming weeks, and we'll have much more to say about this in the future. So that is a quick overview of our data science plans. And now I'll hand it over to James to talk about ops.
Unmute. Awesome. Thanks, Taylor. Hey, everyone. I'm James Heimbach, Principal Product Manager in the Ops section at GitLab. The Ops section is comprised of the 5 stages: verify, package, release, configure, and monitor. And our vision is to help orgs rapidly adopt Ops best practices through a great developer experience and let those organizations achieve efficiency and safety through enterprise controls. So each group within Ops has a number of great features that they have done or that they're going to be working on and bug fixes through 15.7, as well as a focus on maintenance issues to ensure reliability and stability of the platform. And I'll be highlighting a few notable features starting with our theme of improving product usability. And so starting with the runner team, they've heard, and really throughout all of Verify, we've heard from customers that it can be hard to troubleshoot what is causing a job and pipeline to be slow. So one part of that the runner team has really been able to focus in on is surfacing the time it takes for an instance runner to pick up a job. And so in this issue, providing estimated wait times for instance runners, the team will be creating an interface to show the average time it takes for a runner by tag to pick up a job, so that platform engineers who are looking to answer the question of why did this pipeline take so long can eliminate or point at the runner being a root cause for a contributing factor to that. Next up, we have the release team. So previously, the release team had introduced multi-access levels in deployment approvals, which can be set up through the GitLab API. That allowed teams to achieve a separation of duties so that different folks could approve and different folks could deploy releases. But there was no really easy way to review what was already set up within the UI or to change those things. So now users will be able to set up and see what is set up so that they can review who has deployment access, who has approval access, just to monitor those and have better control as separation of duties is required. So moving on to our observability team, they have a couple of really exciting ones. The first is around adding and removing data sources. So today, data sources are configured automatically by the backend only for our own implementations, which can be limiting to users if they can't or they just don't want to use the backends that we provide. So for instance, if a company has a working high-scale metric system that they can't bring with them to GitLab's observability tools, they're not going to be able to use those tools. So the team is working on functionality that will let users add or remove data sources if they have the right permissions, including with Prometheus, Jaeger, Sentry, and Elastic. The other exciting observability feature that I wanted to talk about was managing dashboards in project repositories as code. So we know that users may want to keep those dashboards for a project close to the project, since oftentimes the user who's working on new functionality is also the one who's building out that dashboard. Keeping those things in different places or different systems can discourage simultaneous updates, and that in turn limits the team's ability to learn how those changes that they're making are impacting their service, whether it's in speed, observability, or speed or response times. So the observability team is working on a way to keep the dashboards as code so they can be kept right within the project and encourage those timely updates to happen. Moving on to extending our lead in CI/CD, back to the runner team. And we've heard from users that secrets can accidentally be leaked into job logs, sometimes on purpose. After which, if you have a leak, you're often forced to rotate those secrets everywhere. That's time consuming and just super annoying for an organization. So we have a proposal to find resolved vault secrets and mask them within the job logs. So users who try to say cat a validated secret or into the log to check it can't accidentally do that or even on purpose do that and leak that secret. Next is a small win and a quick win for the configure team, and that's allowing agent CI/CD access sharing within a personal namespace. So they're working on this to set up the same experience for someone who wants to try out the CI/CD access with the GitLab agent just within a personal namespace. So for users who are trialing the CI/CD tunnel functionality within a personal namespace, it's a really different experience than what they might be actually setting up within their organization. So if you have a pipeline engineer or a DevOps engineer who's trialing something within GitLab to see if they want to bring it to the whole org, right now there's a lot of overhead that they have to go through to get that set up and just to see if it's working. So this makes that experience a lot more similar to what they would have if it was fully deployed just within their personal namespace. The last big feature I want to talk about is from our package team, and that's the RPM Package Manager MVC. So the package team has been working on this MVC for a while. And we at GitLab are especially excited about this since our own GitLab runner is an RPM. And so this is going to help us reduce our complexity of our own release process, as well as serve the need for customers, also creating RPMs who can't use the GitLab Package Manager today. The MVC, as it rolls out, will allow users to push and pull RPM packages through the API. And I know the team is already starting to think about enhancements on top of that. And the last thing I wanted to highlight isn't a feature per se, but a change in something that one of the other observability groups did in Respond. And that's in their planning issue. They've created this seeking community contribution section. So these are issues that are well scoped with solid improvement guides to them, and a great place if you're looking to contribute to GitLab to take a look and pick up an issue so that you can contribute back to the platform. And with that, I'll hand it off to Josh for the enablement section.
Thanks, James. Those are some exciting improvements, and I get to talk about enablement, as James mentioned. Let me go ahead and share my screen here, and we'll go from there. So hopefully that's coming through okay. But we'll kick off with enablement. As always, we have our videos for all of our groups. Please pay attention. Please do look through those if you have any further interest in these areas. This is just the highlights of our group. But let's jump into them without further ado here, and we'll kick off, of course, with GitLab Hosted first, and talk about this theme in particular. The first item we're working on is we are working to further encrypt the Rails passwords, really all of our passwords that we store in Omnibus in our configuration files. We've already moved a lot of the really high priority ones over into being encrypted, but there's still a few left that are related to Rails that we want to go ahead and also encrypt. And so we're going to go ahead and do those, another chunk of them in this release. And we're also going to be doing a spike to better investigate how to also encrypt non-Rails passwords. These are things like other dependencies that we bundle in Omnibus, like Postgres and Redis and things like that, where we oftentimes need to actually pass that on to another configuration file. So we're going to do some investigation on how to best handle this to kind of move towards that goal of having all of our secrets encrypted for Omnibus. Moving over towards our Gitly service, we have a really exciting enhancement that we're working on, which is to provide the foundational support to have bundles, and that's kind of an underlying Git technology, but we'll want to have those available on a URI. And what this will allow us to do is actually offload a good chunk of the data and processing to a static file and have that get routed away from the Gitly server itself. This will have a number of benefits. Number one, it will reduce the CPU load because this request no longer goes through the Gitly service, allowing increased scale. It will also allow us to potentially put these bundles on a CDN, which will move that content closer to users, but also frequently reduce the bandwidth charges for a lot of our deployments out there, because CDNs can oftentimes be cheaper than directly connecting to a machine. So a number of benefits here, from the user experience to cost profile to scale, and really excited about this one. Moving over towards our application performance group, we are working to now be able to easily collect the Ruby heap dumps that we created earlier. And this will allow us to get live production views of how Ruby memory is performing and allow us to get a better understanding of how fragmentation and potentially memory use change in the production service. So looking forward to having this that will allow us to better target our efforts going forward. Moving over to our key workflows, another one I'm really excited about in this release is we want to go ahead and start indexing the users table. Right now, all those requests go to our Postgres database, and on larger instances, that can take a bit of time to do a scan and a search. And so that can lead to things like app mentioning and comments not necessarily being the fastest response time. And so what we're going to go ahead and do is actually, for instances who have configured Elasticsearch, index that users table, move that over into Elasticsearch, and then drive the searches there, which should result in a much faster response time. This way, when you're at mentioning folks, you can continue in your flow and keep typing without waiting for that to complete. So really excited about that improvement as well. And further on the search side, we are going to be continuing our efforts to add search filtering by programming language. We recently moved the search filtering experience over to the left-hand side. That allows it to be more expandable and allow us to do things like actually adding additional filtering options based on the type of content you're searching for, like code, to extend it to things like languages. So looking forward to this being more available. We're quite far along here, and we want to wrap it up here in 15.7. Last thing on the key workflows, we want to fix an issue that is causing timeouts for users when they push through a geosecondary. Right now, if it takes longer than 60 seconds, unfortunately, the push will time out, and this can impact larger pushes, larger repositories, and things like that. And so we're going to go ahead and fix this workflow for our users who use those to better support them. Moving over towards maintenance, we are continuing our efforts on Ruby 3.0. This will allow us to move on to this version prior to the 2.7 deprecation. And we are quite far along. We're actually expecting to have a green pipeline for GitLab in 15.7, which is quite exciting. And overall, the team is confident that we can move on to Ruby 3.0 well in advance of when the deprecation event will happen. Over towards distribution and continuing the theme of efficiency, we are working on further improving our pipelines. Maintaining all of our build pipelines can take a lot of work, and it can be also hard for folks to jump in. And so we are working to improve documentation, reduce the overall time of these pipelines, and reduce the knowledge barrier and onboarding required for folks to contribute. And so we're doing things like adding additional documentation, improving how the onboarding experience for our users. And this way we can have more users contribute to these pipelines and overall accelerate the development of GitLab, but also the development of other folks contributing to our build pipelines. And similar on the efficiency theme, we want to go ahead and deprecate libgit2 and Gitly. Right now, we utilize both Git and libgit2. And what this means is that right now we have to maintain both of them. And if a feature launches in Git, we have to wait for it to arrive in libgit2 before we can take advantage of it. So we want to go ahead and deprecate it, rely on just one library, which allows us to have a faster velocity for our new features. And finally, on the database side, we are continuing to work on batch background migrations. This will allow us to have all teams in GitLab and all contributors in GitLab to have an easier way of running large migrations. And right now, the past, it was pretty bumpy, and we are getting quite close to general availability with the new framework. And this will allow an automatically tuned batch background migration, which we can pause, we can resume, and overall have a much easier experience in rolling this out. It's also safer for our production users as well, and not just more efficient for our developers. So overall, exciting change here. And with that, I'll pass it over to Arit to talk about our dev features.
Thank you, Josh. Really exciting to see all the improvements to reliability and security and performance, and also making our migration life easier. So with that, I'll jump into the dev section. There's so many exciting things to talk about coming from dev. I only have time for a few, so please check out the planning issues to see what the entire team is doing. So the first issue that I want to talk about, which I'm really excited about and a lot of customers are asking for, is that epics can now have issues and sub-epics assigned from different groups. This is really exciting because we internally also in GitLab have different projects that we need to often link between one and another. So really exciting to see this coming in the near future. The next thing that the product planning team is doing is working on OKR support in GitLab, which is also super exciting. We want to introduce a new issue type, which is OKRs, and we plan to use it also internally for dog fooding. A lot of different efforts are going to be worked on and as part of this. I'll highlight just one, which is adding the ability to see hierarchy and children relationship on these types of work items. So for example, the key result is child from objective. So this also has wider effects on work items in the future. We're starting with OKRs and really, really exciting. Moving on to the auth team, several really exciting features coming up. The one that I'm most excited about is our first MVC for customizable roles, which is something that lots of our users are asking as well. This is going to be an API only and will be available to group owners on our GitLab.com SaaS project, and we will be able to create a custom role that adds view-only code permission to guest users, which is something that we can't do today, but is highly requested. Next is introducing Skim for self-managed users. Today, this is not available, and this will allow administrators end-to-end user lifecycle management, deprovisioning users who are at the end of their lifecycle, and so on, which is a problem today. On that same theme of making the enterprise user management easier, we are also adding the ability to automatically claim user accounts matching verified domains. So if the users are not provisioned with SAML or Skim, they match a verified domain. For example, any user at GitLab.com, their account is automatically marked as belonging to the company. So exciting to see this as well. The workspace team is working on making project owners' life easier by adding to-dos for when a member requests for access. Moving on to editor, also super exciting. We're going to introduce an MVC for our remote development initiative. So very excited to see this. This is going to be a beta that users can participate in and give us feedback of the new web IDE that's running VS Code. In addition to that, the editor team is working on displaying and editing markdown comments in the content editor. So this will treat comments within the editor better than it does today. Moving on to the import team, two really exciting initiatives that are coming forward. Another beta, this is the second of 3 that I'll talk about today. Another beta coming out for GitLab migration. The feature will allow users to migrate in bulk entire groups, including all the projects beneath it, from one instance to another instance. We've been working on this for a really long time and really exciting to get this to the beta. And on the GitHub importer side, we're adding the ability to, by API, bulk import all personal GIFs that will be imported as snippets in GitLab, and also adding the ability to cancel GitHub project imports, which doesn't exist today. Foundations has been doing a lot of work around validating our new look for GitLab, and we're going to work on the redesign for the new sidebar, which looks a little bit like this. So very excited to see continued work on that as well. Source code also has a huge initiative of introducing branch rules. With this new MVC, users can view source code rules in one single place, and it gets organized by branches. There's no big functionality change, but it does improve the discoverability and of the settings. And it also helps solve a lot of the usability problems that we've uncovered in different user surveys. They will also be working on improving the forking experience, so showing how far behind or ahead a fork is from the upstream project, which should help a lot of our users. In addition, they're going to work on supporting SSH signed commits. Moving on to Certify. Certify is working on allowing to reference work items that are requirements independent to their ID, which is a great help for today. And then the second to last item group is the project management group, which is continuing our work on work items, adding the ability to view activity in system notes. So if, for example, someone renamed the title of the task, or something changed, adding that ability, which was missing today, and also adding the ability to start a thread and leave a comment. This will also help our OKR story that I started with. So very excited to see those two teams work together. And the last team that I want to highlight is in our Extend our CI/CD lead is the Optimize team, with the third beta coming out from this milestone, which we're very excited about, which is introducing an executive dashboard with metrics that have a comparative view that will help executives view and compare all the developer productivity metrics. So excited to get everyone joining on the beta programs and getting your feedback. And with that, I'll pass it back to David.
Thank you, Arit, and thank you to all the presenters. Another great release kickoff. There are many great things that are coming out. I'm just going to take a moment to highlight a couple that jumped out to me. So on the GitLab hosted first, we talked about encrypting all Rails passwords stored in GitLab.rb, GILI support for bundle URIs for clones, and the ability to collect Ruby heap dumps, really giving us a way to continue to improve the uptime, effectiveness, and efficiency of GitLab.com, and thus, by extension, GitLab self-managed users as well. Under improved key workflow usability, improve the user experience when we change analyzer roles, support for all commits, not just merged commits in the chain of custody report, GA release of browser-based the browser-based crawler, auth service, and passive checks. I know the team's been working on that for a very long time. Very excited to see that go to GA. Add search filtering by programming language, Epics can now have issues and sub-epics from different groups, improving our portfolio management. Customizable roles, MVC, super excited about that. And then I'll echo Reed's excitement on remote development. The team's been working hard to bring this to market and allow users to be able to truly take advantage of remote development environments. And then finally, manage dashboards in project repositories as code. What a way to shift observability left by being able to express those items within the project repository. And then finally, I'll extend our lead on CI/CD, new exec dashboards with metrics comparative views, dynamically mask vault variables, and excited about another MVC, our RPM package manager as well. Please check out the release kickoff page for a full list of items. Make sure to like and comment on issues you like so you can engage with the product team. As an example, something that I'm personally excited about was the volume of effort put by the teams on improving our keyword flow usability. I was only able to touch on a very small percentage of them, so please make sure to go out and check out what the team's doing to make GitLab a more usable and livable experience. So thank you everyone for watching and joining this release kickoff.